rich and famous for a time, even traveling with the likes of P.T. Barnum of Barnum and Bailey Circus as professional mediums. While skepticism and accusations of fraud surrounded them in their lifetime, 56 years later, on November 22, 1904, the Boston Journal would report that the skeleton of the man supposed to have caused the rappings, first heard by the Fox sisters in 1848, had been found in the walls of the house occupied by the sisters, and clears them from the only shadow of doubt held concerning their sincerity in the discovery of spirit communication. In the aftermath of the events in Hydesville, Margaretta Fox would experience further encounters. Using the alphabet to communicate, she obtained the following message from a spirit who told her, "Dear friends, you must proclaim this truth to the world. This is the dawning of a new era. You must not try to conceal it any longer. When you do your duty, God will protect you, and good spirits will watch over you." At the site of the Fox Cottage at 1510 Hydesville Road, a monument was erected that said, "The birthplace of modern spiritualism." Upon this site stood the Hydesville Cottage, the home of the Fox sisters, through whose mediumship communication with the spirit world was established, March 31st, 1848. The monument went on to say, "There is no death, there are no dead." Placed here December 5th, 1927. A Masonic obelisk in Rochester, New York, further commemorates the event. But investigators continue to question exactly what the sisters encountered. The mysterious name given to their spirit, Mr. Splitfoot, is considered by some to be an old world reference to the adversary of mankind, the devil. In the wake of the Fox sisters' encounter, a man named Phineas Quimby opened an office dedicated to spiritually aided healing in 1859. Quimby is considered the father of the New Thought movement, believed to be the forerunner of what is today called the New Age. Quimby developed a process of healing through altered states of consciousness, achieved primarily through hypnosis. He believed that a person's illness was the result of their spiritual beliefs. Therefore, by getting rid of a person's old belief and introducing them to new thought, he could, supposedly, heal them. His followers write that, in treating his patients, Dr. Quimby allowed his mind for a while to be passive, and in this way he was affected by the troubled mind of his patient, and so could feel his aches and pains. Then, because his spiritual senses were freed from his own beliefs, they were acted upon and controlled by a higher intelligence. Through what he learned in his sessions, Dr. Quimby began to abandon his traditional beliefs in favor of what the higher intelligence revealed. The New Thought magazine reported that Dr. Quimby believed Jesus of Nazareth was the one person who taught this science. He said, "I have no doubt of his being the only true prophet who had ideas entirely superior to the world. Not that he as a man was any better, but he was the embodiment of a higher wisdom. The good work has begun. Behold, a living demonstration is born." Like Phineas Quimby and later Edgar Cayce in the 20th century, Andrew Jackson Davis performed medical diagnosis and healing while in a mesmerized trance-like state, making use of what he called the spirit eyes in his forehead. He would be known as the John the Baptist of modern spiritualism and the prophet of the new revelation. In 1844, Davis claimed to be swept away from his home in Poughkeepsie, 40 miles away to the Catskill Mountains, where he encountered the long-dead spirits of the Greek philosopher Galen and the Swedish seer Emanuel Swedenborg. Galen gave Davis a magical staff of healing, while Swedenborg promised to instruct and guide him. Thereafter, Davis considered himself personally guided in his steps by the Swedish mystic. As a result, Andrew Jackson Davis's teachings were nearly identical to those of Swedenborg. Swedenborg, sometimes known as the man who talked with angels, was a spiritual medium who died in 1771, best known for his unbiblical concepts of heaven and hell. In his lifetime, he wrote many books on his experiences, though he said that the books were not written by himself. Rather, he claimed they were inspired by spirits and angels from the spirit world. These spirits repeatedly told Swedenborg of the errors of traditional church doctrine. As a result, he would argue against the idea of a triune God, and like Mary Baker Eddy, vehemently rejected the concept of Christian atonement and original sin. Swedenborg's rejection of Christ's atonement on the cross was so extreme that he wrote, "This I can affirm, that whenever the angels hear anyone say that God determined the damnation of the human race, and as an enemy was reconciled by his Son, they are affected in a manner similar to those who from an uneasiness in their bowels and stomach are excited to vomiting, on which occasion they say, 'What can be more insane than to affirm such things to God?'" According to his followers, Swedenborg's teachings declare that there is no such thing as eternal punishment, and that those who find themselves in hell after death can work their way towards something higher. Yet Swedenborg himself warned against the revelations of the very spirits he communed with. In his miscellaneous theological works he wrote, narrate things wholly false and lie. When spirits begin to speak to man, care should be taken not to believe them, for most everything they say is made up by them, and they lie. And if man listens and believes, they insist and in various ways deceive and seduce. Despite such contradiction, Swedenborg's influence has been great, impacting churches, and with them the ancient orders of Freemasonry. Many Masonic lodges throughout Europe became known as Swedenborgian lodges, and the rite of Swedenborg became part of Masonic ritual. Culture has been overwhelmed by a fascination with spirit communication and paranormal phenomenon. Some of the most influential people in the modern era have been influenced themselves by New Age spiritism and the occult. From Mary Todd Lincoln, the wife of Abraham Lincoln, who held seances in the White House to communicate with her son Willie, who had died at a young age, to Hillary Rodham Clinton, who supposedly contacted the ghost of Eleanor Roosevelt with New Age psychic Jean Dixon. Hillary is pictured here submitting herself to the power of an American Indian shaman.